Hey guys, Wade Willis here for Wade's Read Reviews, coming here to talk to you guys today about the 4th episode of Higurashi Go, and this is the final episode of the Demon Deceiving arc. Now, not gonna lie guys, this episode for me was a 10 out of 10, best episode so far in this new series, and to me, I feel like some people are saying it's a completely different universe, some people are, it's definitely not a remake. I think it is still going to be a sequel, and we'll probably find more of why it is a sequel much later on. Now, before I go any further, guys, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. I'm going to be covering Higurashi the rest of the season, a bunch of other seasonal anime shows, and I'm doing the arc reviews of the original Higurashi. And yeah, if you like the video, please leave a like. It helps a lot. And guys, I'm going to go over, after I go through the review, I'm going to go through my predictions and theories, and I'll timestamp that right here. The main thing this episode really focused on for me was the unreliable nature of Keiichi-kun as a narrator. Right off the bat, Keiichi feels like Reina's watching him still, and he's freaking out. And I'm not gonna lie guys, these parts, anytime they showed like Reina's eyes and just the sounds and noises that they do when, and the music when they're flashing to like Reina looking at him and stuff, I jumped quite a few times in this episode, and I'm contemplating doing live reactions, so if you guys would actually like that, please comment below. But yeah, I'm thinking about doing those as well. Keiichi is kind of losing his mind. He probably got like 30 minutes of sleep the night before because the whole Reina actually was watching him and all of that jazz. Tells his mom that he's going to stay home, and she tells him, okay, you're going to need to go to the clinic. But Keiichi, he goes to the Erie clinic, and it's closed. There's a conspicuous looking guy, and his eyes are kind of like blacked out a little bit, like how they're showing people when they're creepy in the show. He's telling Keiichi that the clinic is being remodeled. I think this is going to be super important, and I'm going to touch on this in my theories and predictions part later on. This is a small town. Keiichi's like, yeah, there's nowhere else for me to go in town. So he decides to go back to school. And this next part is extremely important, and it triggers Keiichi's reactions throughout the rest of the episode. Even though, even you guys that have not seen the original, you're aware of the whole, Rika is aware that she goes, is going back in time and all that stuff. So she approaches Keiichi and says like she sees something, like he's not feeling well. He eventually opens up to her and says like Reina's kind of creeping him out. And she tells him like, hey, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, and you should really, like, if you're questioning Reina, you should really be questioning yourself. So those of you that have not seen the original, you guys already know Rika has like gone through, she mentioned in episode 2, it's been 100, like she went through the thing 100 years. So you know she's gone through this a bunch of times. There's obviously a purpose of this. So, and I'm not going to get much more into that. Keiichi has like a realization that, okay, like, all right, maybe I am overreacting. I'm bringing up like grisly murders that happened in this town. People probably don't want to talk about it. Yeah, makes sense. So he ends up going home. Everyone's gone. Not a great sign. Gets a call from his mom telling him, hey, we're going to be out of town. Sweet. Anytime something like this happens in any type of horror thing, you're like, you know shit's going to go down. And it's like, he gets the call right as it's like the sun setting. You're like, sucks for my boy. And she tells him like, oh, someone's going to bring you food. Guess who it is? None other but Reina, the one who has been creeping him out. Now, they did changed the scene. There was a similar scene in the original where it's Reina and Mion, and Keiichi gets like a needle in his food. That part is really creepy, but this whole chain of events that happens, the way they have like when she opens up the door and you see her eye, the music, the way they create the suspense is just way scarier and creepier. And yes, like animation has improved a lot since then, but there's a lot of subtle things that aren't really dealing with the animation. And again, I think it's the sound, and honestly I think the writing has done a better job in creating sense and fear for me personally. For those of you that have seen the original, if you disagree, let me know. There are tons of creepy parts in the original, but this is a lot more is a lot scarier to me personally. He thinks back to Rika's advice, and this is kind of like giving him strength. And then he has a flashback to him going Babe Ruth style on Rika's head, and he's like, okay, all right, if I need to down anyone, he's like thinking like it should be me. This is just Reina. Like I need to like let her in, and he gives her a hug, and it's like pretty cute. She comes into the house and she's like, oh, it's me and Keiichi all alone, and does her, ooh, like I can't do the toys, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, I started getting a bit worried when he tried to like help her with the food and she turned it away from him, and she's like, yeah, just watch TV. And again, we have the unreliable narrator thing going. And you guys have seen my other videos, some of my other videos, I've talked about this, but the unreliable narrator is like a huge like gothic lit element, and this episode is filled with it. And Keiichi's like very unreliable, and for those that have seen the original, you guys like understand why even more. And I'm just gonna touch, you guys don't need to see the original. This is a completely like new story. Basically, the original is amazing, and I would suggest watching it. And you can watch it on High Dive. They have season 1 and the Kai season, and even the OVAs on High Dive. If you buy High Dive. Other than that, it's incredibly difficult to watch, but I would suggest it. And it's not going to ruin this for you, because they're flipping everything on its head. So just thought I would throw that in there. When she goes into the kitchen again, more foreshadowing, we see like the darkness over her eyes, and I'm like, this is another not good situation. Turns on the TV, there's a thing about like someone being dismembered, so he changes the channel. I'm like, okay, another weird coincidence. And then he like, you see her taking like the stuff out for the food, and there's like some materials, and it looks more like cooking stuff, and then you see like twine, and I'm like, this isn't probably a good sign. And then you see like a bone saw, and I'm like, shit's about to go down for sure. And then Keiichi's like trying to apologize to her for like accusing her of stuff and bringing up things that are like sensitive to the town. And we see that Reina's like her whole setup is just like a Dexter setup. You see some rubber gloves, like there's handcuffs in there. I'm like, dude, this is I mean, really, you don't need all of that. This is a bit over the top, but she's got all that stuff set up. Keiichi goes in, he's kind of like creeped out because she starts acting weird, and she starts like picking at her neck. And guys, for you newcomers, if you see someone scratching their neck, it is a horrible sign. And she talks about needing to protect her father, and that if she kills Keiichi, then like she'll also disappear. She also mentions like being cursed by Oyashiro already. So all this is going on, and I will note again, like they're really twisting stuff on its head because Reina isn't like this really. And those of you that are OG that have watched the original, you know that this is dramatically different. There is an arc, and I'm not trying to spoil anything, but where there is stuff going on with Reina's father, and she's dealing with a lot. But again, that wasn't supposed to happen in this first arc. So they're flipping everything on its head. And I'll get into my theories of what exactly they're doing with that in a bit. This to me was the fight of the year. It went on for a while. And even though they censored some of it, like it was extremely gruesome. Like really disgusting, really graphic, grisly, and again and even in the original when they show the people going insane, like that was creepy. Then this again takes it up to another level, and at one point he like basically does like a freaking Falcon punches her in the chest, and she like hits her head. She's like laying there with her eyes closed, and I'm like, this guy doesn't know about the double tap, does he? Like, I've seen enough zombie movies to know, in any like horror movie, if someone that is evil, or she's not evil, but you know what I mean, someone that is trying to kill you is laying on the ground and their eyes are closed, they're not dead ever. Come on, bro. Like, maybe throw something, lob something over, like on her face. I don't know, get a feather and try to tickle her nose. Obviously not that one, because you would be getting too close. But he makes the mistake of getting too close to check on her, and she starts going O.J. Simpson on him. And I don't know if there might be a significance of this. Maybe it was just like poetic and they put it in, but he starts bashing her head in with a clock that has, I believe the date is on it also. So again, the whole time loop thing, I don't know if they did it just to be poetic, but he's like hitting her in the head and she's stabbing him, and it's just, I don't know why I'm laughing at this point, but it's like, it reminds me of like old school boxers that have like, you know what? It reminds me of a Rocky movie where there's no blocking or defense and they're just punching each other in the face and they're like leading with their face. Like no one's like, she doesn't once like really try to like disarm him, and he's not trying to like take the knife from her. They're just both, he's yeeting her in the head and she's just stabbing him, and they're going back and forth. Eventually we get to where they're both bloody on the ground, and yeah, real gross. And Keiichi wakes up and somehow is alive. Not to give too much away of the original, but I think this is established that if Keiichi has any superpower, it is surviving stabbings. Like, this is truly impressive that he gets stabbed, 800 times. I guess she's stabbing him in the same place, or somehow never hits anything vital. But nevertheless, survives. Oishi is kind of interviewing him, and Keiichi kind of breaks. Then Mion visits him, and he finds out that Reina didn't survive, and he's like really troubled with this because he's the one that killed her. Even though she attacked him, he still cares for her as a friend, and he knows that something was like wrong with her. Then he finds out that Rika and Satoko are both dead, and they were killed with the same knife. Now, interesting thing, they were killed with the same knife. Is this the same knife that Keiichi was possibly stabbed with? That would be interesting. It looked similar, but again, a lot of kitchen knives look similar. But that's just one thing I saw. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to dive into that more in a bit. And then a nurse comes over with a syringe. And I immediately got worried. And then asked him if he's been having any symptoms. Like, is his neck itchy? And again, those of you that have watched the original, you know what this is dealing with. And even if you haven't seen the original, we know itchy neck is no bueno. You hear him scream and that's the end. And we know it's the end of the arc because they gave us the name of the next episode, and it is episode 1 of the Cotton Deceiving arc. Now in the original it was called Cotton Drifting arc. They're using the same first word of the title of the arc and then adding deceiving to the end of this. Overall, guys, like I said, amazing episode. I was completely shocked by what they did, and I did almost pee my pants a few times from jumping. Really disturbing stuff, but I am so impressed in how, again, they're introducing things little by little for the new viewers. You don't need to see anything to, like, again, you're going to be confused, but that's how all of us felt watching the original, and even I'm confused of what's going on, and I've seen the original. Like, I get more references, but again, I can't predict what's going to happen. Although I am going to do some predictions. But I've never been impressed with writing for something that could be a sequel or a different story. Like, usually it is very stale, or they try to do a cut for cut thing, or it's just bad. But so far they're knocking it out of the park. I predicted that this episode was going to be a banger, and it was, and they totally threw me for a loop. I had no idea what was going to happen, and yeah, I'm impressed, and I have a lot of questions. Now, for those of you that don't want like real spoilers of things that have happened in the past, or don't want to hear predictions of what's going to happen, go ahead and turn off now, because I'm going to go into my tinfoil theories. Now, I already mentioned the arc names and how they're changing that. I believe that they're going to do the first probably 4, maybe 5 arcs and add deceiving at the end of them. But for sure, I think the first 3. And then after that, from the originals, there is like an arc where we see from a different perspective and stuff. So I think that we're gonna only have the first few arcs do this deceiving thing, and then we're gonna really learn the true story, probably, in my opinion, after arc 3. Maybe even after arc 2, because they've really introduced a lot of stuff. Now, next arc, we're going to get introduced to Shion for sure. Really intrigued to see what they do with that. Honestly, guys, I have a feeling that we may get Satoshi. Satoshi may play a big role. He may actually be up on his 2 feet, because we don't know what the hell's going on. There's a lot of stuff that is unpredictable. Who knows? Maybe he's on his 2 feet and makes an appearance. That's like a real wild theory I might have, but he hasn't been mentioned yet at all. And I think that's very significant. I don't think they're going to take him out of this story completely, because he's extremely important, and we know this next arc is going to really focus most likely on Shion. We know they're going to flip it on its head. Maybe we're going to find out something different about Satoshi. But I think he's going to be very important, but in a different way in this next arc. Now with the names, this is Go, which means karma. So I can see that they're going to use the people who were suffering from the Hinamizawa syndrome. They're going to be the ones who actually end up like getting killed, or like have the gruesome thing happen to them, or they have to witness it from that perspective. So I think they're gonna maybe do like karma for like, okay, you made these people suffer, like when you suffered from it, now you're gonna see what it's like in this loop from their perspective. That's, I don't know, maybe an idea, but I think that might be a bit too predictable, and I think they're gonna again kind of flip things on its head. If there's one thing we can predict is that he's gonna keep us on on our toes with the writing. And I thought it was interesting that I don't remember a single arc from the original. And tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think Rika and Satoko like ever died in the same room like that in their own house. So that's interesting to me. I do kind of believe that Takano might have somehow gotten the ability like Rika can to kind of remember things. Again, this is just me grasping at straws, because that would actually make the plot get a lot more interesting if you have one person on each side who is like remembering almost everything. So I don't know, that's just a thought. Now, all the shit going on in the clinic, that was a major key to me as well. It looks like, and I may be remembering it wrong, but it looked like all the boxes were exactly the same. And when obviously they're not just remodeling that place, but it looked really fishy. That like and again I may be wrong, but when I watched it like both times, to me it looked like, or at least I'm remembering this way, but like all the boxes looked like the same size, which to me is probably a pharmaceutical shipment. So they're probably going to be trying to do some biological warfare. I don't think it's guns, because you wouldn't be transporting guns in cardboard boxes probably that are all like the same size. Maybe you would, but I'm just thinking that looks more to me like a pharmaceutical thing. Yeah, guys, those are just some of my like tinfoil hat ideas. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below, and just make sure like in the comment like put spoiler of original. Like that would be awesome if you guys could do that, because there are some people who are probably slowly going through the original as this is going on.